This is a lemur interface for Moog Theremini and USB MIDI expression pedal. I'm using one from EOWave. There's 5 pages to the interface, and we'll go through those one at a time. First is an arpeggiator. We'll come back to that later. Likewise, the animator. Although we'll stop here for just a moment to see the pedal in action. So, for instance, if we wanted to control pitch correction, we'll select it here, and then move the pedal back for no pitch correction, and here for maximum. Likewise, the other controls along the bottom. Next up is the mapper. Sorry about the mouse pointer there. And here we can see pitch antenna and the volume. Next along is settings. Settings and tracking correspond to the controls available through Moog's own app. At the top, on the right hand side, is configure theremini. This, if I was to change some of the settings on the theremini, it would not be reflected to lemur, so this just uploads all of lemur's settings in one hit, and tapping that means we can be sure that all the settings on the interface correspond to the sound coming out of the machine. Along the top, we first of all have a choice of oscillators. This is a, what do we call it? A wavetable synthesizer, so it can represent various simple waveforms: sine, triangle, supersaw, bright and hollow. Bright and hollow, I suspect, correspond to almost a sawtooth and almost a square wave. At the moment it's on sine, and we can hear it tone there. This is triangle. This is supersaw. Bright. And hollow. The two others are true wavetables. They morph between one sound and another by tracking across the extent of the wavetable. And we have controls for that down at the bottom: rate, amount, and position. Coloured black, rate, amount, and position, which coloured black to remind us that, as with Animoog and Etherwave, they are, say that again, they apply only to Animoog and Etherwave. Let's see Animoog in action. So we'll move across to the Automator so we can see that the position is now under pedal control. And that's how it varies. It can also vary algorithmically by having a certain rate and amount. Now if we place it and rate under control now. and there the full extent of a pedal corresponds to the full extent of the effect. The range controls here and here allow us to select just a portion of that, both a portion of the pedal travel and a portion of the effect. We'll look at that with pitch correction, and we'll say that above this point, pitch correction is on full, and below this point, it's on minimum. So we'll move. So while it's around here, pitch correction is on full, and here or we may want to control the extent of the effect. So now, at the top of the range, only a small amount of pitch correction would be applied. While it remains continuous at the bottom. We can invert this by tapping the little triangle at the top left of the screen. So now we have some auto-tune here, but none there. We can also adjust the response curve of the pedal so that the triangle wave symbol at the top right we can change to a sine wave, thus, and that will make the pedal more sensitive at the top of the treble and the bottom of the treble, and rather zip over the middle range. That'll have more function later when we come back to look at the Automator. Oh, in fact, no, let's look at the Automator function now. So we'll put that back up to its full extent, but still inverted, and still only over a small amount of travel. And we'll take it off pedal control and choose a speed, and then a little tap on the fader, and off it goes. So now pitch control is switching on and off as we play. And what the little tap, and it stops. We'll put that back to 0, and we'll put everything back nice and tidy. Welcome to the demonstration. That concludes the Automator page. Let's go back to the start, to the settings page, and the next in line after the oscillator is of course a filter. At the moment we don't have one. Let's put on a low pass, and we'll control the cutoff with our pedal and choose that. That's having very little effect on the end mode, so let's move over to super saw. And those resonance. That's quite pleasant, so let's stay with that. And in fact, let's put pitch correction back on. and move on to the delay. The delay is one thing I couldn't put onto pedal control because it's the wrong sort of delay. I want one like Space Echo, where you can vary the delay time and it stretches the sound, not one that chops it up and makes nasty little glitches, which, I mean, I'm not averse to glitches, but I don't like these ones. So, what it does, so is, sorry about the pointer again, confusing the mouse and the iPad. Gives us very fine control over very short delays, which is quite nice. Let's just dial up quite a lot of feedback, and because we have very fine control, there, that's quite fun. Okay, the hopefully buttons on the left hand side is self-explanatory. So, on to tracking. At the moment, the thereemini is playing between a low note of F2, and that's an ISO standard F2, and E7. On the theemini display, I've just got F2 and E7 again, so it's using the same notation that we are. Good. I can, if we look at full range of the instrument, but you don't, that's a lot of notes in a tight space, so we'll pick something around there. That'll do for now. And just as a little convenience, we can step up a couple of octaves. And we can step down a couple of octaves. Let's have something like that for now. And a bit of delay. I like that. Okay, what have we done so far? Tracking the volume control. But at 1:1, which is just there, the volume pedal responds, the volume loop responds like a proper theremin volume loop, with close being 0 and right over the top being full. Or you can set it higher to make it snappier. So if you take it up a lot, you see, we've lost a lot of the subtle response. And let's put it back together. Yeah, there we go. Right. what to look at next. Oh, the other controls on this page correspond to the controls on the Moog app, and I refer you to the instruction manual. I've expressed 100% as 1-to-1. Don't particularly care for their tracking algorithms, which is why we're all switched off at the moment. And we'll have a look at the mapper. This is my take on mapping the pitch and volume loops to various effects. We'll start again with pitch correction, and it's very much the same as with volume loop, or with the pedal control, I should say. Or so the pitch and volume fields on the theremini not very stable, and while I've been talking it's grown and it's now sounding continuously, so I'm going to spend a couple of seconds just adjusting that. Sorry for the silence. Okay, there we are. Just reach over and tap it for illustrative purposes. Tap it. Wave my hand around for illustrative purposes. Okay, so this time the part of the volume or pitch field which we are interested in is represented here. For this demonstration, we'll look at the pitch field. So we'll say I'm interested in the whole range of the pitch field. That's volume, pitch, volume, pitch, volume, pitch. It goes across, and this corresponds to volume and pitch indicators at the top. And at the bottom, we have the amount of the effect. So I want full pitch correction, and I'm going to turn it on by pressing the 0 in the center. Now we can low pitches, low pitch correction. Highest pitches, lots of pitch correction. Or again, we could reduce the range. So it was a distinct switching point. And as with the pedal controls, we also have a choice between a straight line response and a curved response by selecting the the triangle wave and tapping it to become a sine wave. This would have very little effect with a very short range, and to be honest, on a long range it's barely perceptible, but it's an option. If you want just a little bit of variety, you can flick that, I suppose. I will perhaps at some point I'll get around to looking at different possible mappings, sawtooth and odd mappings, but for the time being we've got those two. We've done the Automator, and that brings us to the Arpeggiator. But before we go there, let's just take off that delay and have a nice simple sound. That'll do. so that we want pitch correction on. Just remind myself what I've done with all these knobs. So those are fine. That can come down. That can come down. Mapper will turn off mapping. Settings are just fine. Tracking is not doing anything, which brings us to the arpeggiator. We want to turn that on with the transport on the left-hand side, and that one on. We'll do that, and we'll control the speed on the pedal. So, oops, daisy, there we go. From 0, and that's at full speed on setting 1. We go up in increments which are determined by lemurs and presumably by MIDI standard to full speed. As you can hear, maximum speeds for timing isn't terribly good, but it is interesting. That's a 2-step arpeggiator. There is also a 3-step, 4-step, and 5-step. And turn that one off, and perhaps go for this one at a slightly more sensible speed, and turn it on. If we want to make quick variations to an arpeggio, we have the left and right arrow button and the up and down arrow button on the left hand side, which either reverse it in time or invert it in pitch. So a little different, but not much. One thing, of course, which we can do, which is fun, is to turn on 2 at the same time, in which case the change in pitches are summed. Things can get quite interesting when you have all 4 switched on, running at different speeds. I have no idea what an arpeggiator is supposed to do, but this is my spin on it. It's kind of derived from techniques I use elsewhere in my music. Okay, and I think that pretty much concludes the demonstration. Thank you very much for listening to the end.